Hello, and welcome to Living Her Legacy, a podcast that celebrates and serves mamas who are choosing to live their best life after starting their family. I'm your host, Jill Sutton, and thank you so much for joining today. As always, please follow along on Instagram at Jill G. Sutton or Living Her Legacy podcast. This way we can communicate back and forth a little bit easier than over the podcast. Or if you are already on YouTube, you can check out Living Her Legacy on YouTube. I am slowly getting these episodes updated on YouTube so that it will be the same episodes coming out each week as the audio podcast. But definitely catch me over there. You can comment on the videos and we can chat back and forth. This episode is going to be a solo episode, and I'm going to be talking about values and, in particular, generosity. Now, you may not know exactly what it is that you value, or you have an idea, but it's difficult to put it into words. Maybe even you have had some life changes recently and just haven't kind of reevaluated those values and see if the same ones are still as important to you as they were in the past. I highly recommend taking some sort of personal values test. I don't know, maybe twice a year, just to kind of touch base and tune in with what it is that's important in your life at that time. I'm taking part in a leadership course at my work, and one of the things that we've done is a lot of self-reflection and re-looking at our personal values. So if you want to take a personal values test, there is a free one online. I will link it in the show notes or the description, depending where you are listening or watching this. But you can click that link. Basically, what it's going to do is give you several topics, and you're going to choose about 10 of them. You can choose more if it seems like there are more that are that important to you. And then basically, the next phase is kind of putting those topics up against each other and seeing which one is more important to you when they're stacked next to each other. After you go through these kind of tiles of sorting these tiles, it's going to give you your top 5 personal values and maybe a little bit more about those areas. The reason personal values are good to reassess and revisit is if you're feeling a lot of stress in your life or discontentment, it could be that the thing you're pursuing and the thing that you're working on right now may no longer be aligned with your personal values. And that's going to cause kind of a rift or discontentment in our lives where just something feels off, something feels wrong. It just doesn't feel quite the same anymore. Another reason why I think revisiting your values is important is it might help to reframe or help you to focus on how the work you are doing is aligned with your values and give you a different frame of reference so that you can get more contentment in the work that you're already doing. I do believe it is good practice to be more self-aware. I feel like self-awareness and the pursuit of making yourself better is something that is going to help not only you, but everybody around you. And honestly, speaking from myself, I am not great at meditation, but I will tell you one of the things I am putting into practice, and that is when I try to meditate, instead of trying to think about nothing and clear my mind, I am focusing on my values. So instead of just really clearing my mind and allowing myself to be present, I still try to do those things, but I also am doing a little bit more of visualization and using my core values as my subject matter. What that looks like is I might sit still in a quiet place for a while, and then let's just take generosity, for example, as one of my values. I might think about the ways that generosity is already showing up in my life. And then I may move into thinking about how it would look ideally, how I want that to look in the future, something that I want to work towards. What areas can I expand generosity to in my life? And how can then I show that to my kids? The things that I value, I obviously want to pass down in them, and I want them to see at least the value of it. It might not be something that's that important to them at the moment, but for them to see that that's something that I value and how I interact with that in my life. So, my top 5 core values after taking this test were family, faith, health, meaningful work, which I'm kind of lumping into generosity, and authenticity. So this is really coming at a good time for me because my church that I attend is just coming off of Love Week, which is basically an entire week where the church partners with both local and global organizations and foundations to help provide them with volunteer services. They literally organize hundreds of these events where people in the community and the church can come and volunteer their time and help these foundations and organizations get a jump start or get prepared for the next, natural disaster or whatever it may be. But they are partnering with these other organizations and just supplying this volunteer manpower, which is amazing to see in person. Now, we've been a part of this church for 12 years, and we've got to participate in Love Week probably almost every year that they have had it. And it is always, I don't know, the feeling that you get after volunteering, there's nothing like it. You just feel like you have made a difference and that your time was well spent pouring into someone else who has needs that might be far more critical to their livelihood than the needs that we have. And it just changes your perspective so much. So, one of the things I really do love about our church is they provide these family friendly volunteer experiences where I can bring my kids. I remember last year I had Esme, she was a year old, and I had her strapped to my hip, and Arlo and my mom was out from Oregon, and we were creating food packages where we were measuring out the rice and putting it in these vacuum sealed bags and making these care kits for people that are starving, that don't have the necessary nutrition each day. And it was just a really cool experience being able to go to these events, bring my kids, my toddlers that maybe need a little bit of extra help, but being able to get them involved at an early age to see what it is. And my 5-year-old still talks about these volunteer experiences to this day. So this year we were able to go and pack care kits, personal hygiene kits for the kids in our community that all go to a Title I school and don't have the resources that they need just in basic hygiene. So we were able to put together toothbrushes, toothpaste, shampoo, body wash, lotions, combs, all those types of things, a washcloth, all those things into a care kit. And those are going to be given to the kids when they start school in the next couple of weeks, which is just amazing to think. So that was just a really fun experience. Again, my daughter, who is 5, was able to put the items in the packages for these kids. And they did have a little table set up for coloring. So my 2-year-old was able to kind of sit and color when she just got a little bit antsy and didn't want to put things in bags. But it was just such a wonderful experience. My whole family was there, plus my sister-in-law. And I just really appreciate the opportunity to practice generosity together. And that's something else that I would say is I really feel like generosity is a muscle and it takes practice and repetition to get it stronger. I feel that the more we do it, the more we feel better. So just like with exercise, when you first start, it might be hard. It might be hard to make that commitment. Might be hard to get up early on a Saturday and go to that event. But the more you do it, you realize how good you feel afterwards. And it's, like I said before, the best feeling ever. So that was one of the events that we got to participate in. The other event was very near and dear to my heart. And I don't know, it kind of got my wheels turning on somehow how I can get involved in this community. But we partnered with Defend the Fatherless, and they help with foster children. And what we did was on Saturday, we put together a respite care event for foster children so that their foster parents could have a little bit of a break. Now, if you don't know about kind of that type of situation, basically when a foster parent receives a foster child, they are by law required to have certified people watch their children. So they cannot just hire up a babysitter on a Friday night and go have pizza and a movie, spend some time together. They actually have someone that is certified by the state that they have to pay an hourly rate for to get that break it is obviously something that you can only imagine is few and far between to find somebody who is certified to be a respite foster care worker, where they're certified by the state and they're able to, work those hours that are needed by the foster parents. So you can only imagine that this is something that is in dire need in probably every community. Definitely something to look into if it is of interest to you, to get that certification and be able to help those families out on a weekend or a weeknight, just giving those foster parents a little bit of a reprieve. I mean, that's what respite care is. And being able to give those children that they're loving on a safe place while they can kind of re-pour into their own relationship. So, all that to say, Saturday, that was the event. And with my background in physical therapy, I was kind of selected to help out with any of the special needs kids or anyone that had a medical complexity. So I was able to just kind of help out those kids and be with them, make sure that the parents had peace of mind and know that I'm at least trained a little bit in medicine and have been around kids in that type of environment, as some of my background is in home health care for pediatrics, which basically any of those children had some sort of medical complexity that I was working around and working through with the family. So anyway, that one was not with my whole family. That was something that I got to do just on my own, obviously for privacy reasons. It wasn't open to children to be with the other children. But again, I encourage you guys, if you are feeling a little bit stuck or stagnant or feeling a little bit of discontent, I would number one, just do that personal values test. See what it is in your life that matters to you, that means a lot to you. And then try your best to incorporate more of that in your life. Think about those things. If it's family, really value then that family time that you have. I know for me, when my kids are home from school, it's like very few minutes that I get to spend just with my kids without distractions. Seeing that family is top of my values list, that's something that I am going to also be refocusing on. So when I meet with you guys at the beginning of each month, I may just be kind of going through a few of my core values and what I'm doing to invest in those values, bring more of those things into my life, make my life a little bit more happy, more positive, and less abrasive with feeling unaligned, feeling like my life isn't going the direction that I want, that I'm not able to pour into the things that mean a lot to me. So I hope this helps. I hope this gives you guys some encouragement and something practical to do. It does not take long. The personality test is super fast. And then I would just encourage you to sit for 5 minutes and think about that one value and how it's already showing up in your life, and then ways that ideally it would look in your life, and maybe just the practical steps to increase that in your life. I really feel like that just makes everybody a little bit happier. And I think it's just good to be aware of. It's good to be aware of certain things that you're lacking that you need more of. And also, I think this helps you to be able to communicate those needs with those around you. If I'm saying, like, man, family is one of the things that I really value, and I need to communicate that with my husband. I really feel like in this area that we're lacking and we're not being able to spend as much time together, just one on one, no distractions, spending time with the kids, doing something creative or crafty, or getting outside and, riding our bikes or whatever. But I just want to incorporate more of that, and being able to voice those needs, I think, is so important. So anyway, I love you guys. I will talk with you guys next week. Next week on the podcast is going to be Megan Tobler. She is a soon to be mama, like literally could be delivering in the next month or so. And she has started her own podcast and business called Self Starter, but it's Start HER, where she is just really taking that leap of faith, doing something on her own, has left corporate America, not really on her timeline, but it was the push that she needed. So I really think you guys will enjoy this episode. So tune in next week. I mean it when I say, don't just leave a legacy, live one. I'd love to do that with you side by side. So let's band together. Let's be mamas on a mission. Let's live our lives fully and spread our love and joy to everyone around us. See you next week.